Hey Steph, welcome. It's so good to see you.
Hey,
Welcome to the conversation. And I wanted to invite you today to ask you a very specific question that I was wondering about, and I wonder if you could help me. So I want to ask you the question. What are the raw mechanics behind the human experience, the invisible dynamics that operate within all people behind the scenes? What does that even mean?
it's a $64,000 question, isn't it? I think that the best way to tackle this
Mm,
is to make it simple.
mm,
So the understanding that we talk about, sometimes called the three principles, sometimes it's called the inside out understanding,
mm,
and various other things. To me, hinge on two pieces of understanding, two foundational, fundamental piece of understanding that once we appreciate them
mm,
and see them at ever deeper levels, they fundamentally change our experience of life. They change how we see life, how we see people, how we see situations. So what I'm going to say is the first piece is it's called the inside out understanding because the way that we experience life, the way that our reality is created, our feelings, our emotions, our perceptions of life always come from thought in the moment. That's why they call it the inside out understanding, because we are brought up to believe that events and circumstances, everything that happens outside of us, can affect the way we feel. But when we understand, and this has been proven
mm.
scientifically. This isn't just a woo-woo kind of
Yeah.
idea or concept. David Bohm, the Nobel
Physicist.
physicist, said, you know, thought creates our reality,
Mm,
and then says, "I didn't do it."
mm,
So our life, our experience of life comes from the inside out. Everything that we feel, everything that we experience as part of life has to come through the filter of our thinking,
mm.
not from the outside, not from our circumstances. That's the first thing. That's a lifetime's work understanding that anyway, and getting deeper with that. But the other immensely cool foundational piece of understanding is that we are designed for success. We have an inbuilt design for creativity, problem solving, for coming up with unique contributions to life. And the only thing that stops us accessing that all the time is ourselves, our perceived limitations, our perceived ideas of what life is, and our perceived idea of what we're capable of and what our potential is. So these are two huge paradigm shifts for people. We think that we are being controlled by the outside circumstances. We believe that people, things, places, events, circumstances can make us feel a certain way. And what we're here to tell you is that that's just superstition. We cannot feel something that is coming from outside of us. Everything we feel has to come from thought. So let me ask you, my friend, what does that mean for you? What when you first came to this understanding and you began to see that, you began to get a feel for where your experience was coming from, what did that change in your life?
I think for me, I will admit I am a recovering perfectionist, control freak, and hyper competitive person. And because my background was in professional sport and martial arts, and I did Taekwondo for a long time. And I was living under the premise of I needed to work on myself and be better in order to win gold medals and be more confident. And then at some point I stumbled into learning about personal development, and then I somehow arrived at, well, if I could just fix my thinking and fix my beliefs, I can win more and do better and perform better. And the problem was I spent a lot of time managing my thinking and less time being in the game of Taekwondo, which is the sport I played, and less time enjoying life and less time being in life, because it was all like, oh no, I need to always think positive and always be attracting the right things and working on and noticing my beliefs and fixing them. And it was a lot of work. And I thought, well, I guess I have to do this for the rest of my life in order to have the life I want. And when I came into this understanding, I realized it was very much outside in, like based on outside circumstances, I need to change this about myself in order to fit in and be more successful. I think the first thing that I would say that I found was freedom and peace of mind, which I've been looking for all my life, in that I didn't need to manage any of my thinking. Like there was just passing thought. I didn't need to pay attention to the thoughts that were passing through my mind. And in that, I found incredible freedom to just enjoy life and be in life. And a funny thing happened when I did that is things got better. I started playing better, my performance improved, my mood was better. I just felt more joy and peace, a deeper level of peace. And then the other penny dropped, which I felt a deep sense of grounding within myself, where I just felt more centered within myself. I mean, I still wobble from time to time, as we all do, but there's a deeper sense of grounding that I found in getting a glimpse of what you're talking about. And a funny thing happened is that I started to notice other people who were getting caught up in their own thought and how much suffering they were inflicting on themselves especially in business, because I work a lot with business owners, especially in business, and people who are trying to do things in the world. It's almost like they spend 70% of their time and energy fighting themselves, and there's only 30% left of their potential to express itself into the world. And I was just out, it got me curious, like, gosh, I wonder what would happen if they stopped fighting themselves and more of their true nature and their full potential could express itself into the world. What would be possible? What would their lives look like? And I've been curious about that ever since.
That's so beautiful. I think that speaks to the fact that when we live in an outside-in understanding of the world, then we need to spend so much time trying to control the outside world, trying to control the people in our lives. You know, we have to try to control certain events in our lives, and the amount of energy and mental, the amount of mental control that we try to exert in order to keep all our ducks in the row is so counterproductive to, like you say, to be able to live a life from a deeper, freer mind, being able to create, being able to resolve, being able to live life from a much more carefree point of view. And the interesting thing is that the more we live from freedom of mind, I like the word you use, freedom, the more we live without the constrictions of the superstition, if you like, the better we are at it. Not only do we feel better and we have a deeper, more meaningful experience of life, but we are so much more resourceful and so much more successful at what we choose to do, what lights us up. And so, like you, my aim in life is to wake as many people as I can up to this understanding, because this is more true to who we are. This is more true to our potential as human beings and what we can achieve in the world. And it just feels so much better, you know.
In my work, I've seen whole businesses change overnight, or just people have one single insight from being in this space, and they go from bored or stagnant or stuck to alive and energetic, and they're creating things, and inspiration is flowing and creativity is flowing. And the most beautiful thing for me in those types of situations is noticing that nothing really changed except what they saw and the insight that they had. And there's a beautiful quote, I forgot, I think it's by our mutual friend, colleague, mentor, Michael Neal, where he said, "There's a presence in this conversation that is soothing, healing, guiding, and it takes care of you. But and when I talk about it, I say it's always there, but you have to dip your toes in. You have to it's like in this part of the world we have onsens, like hot baths and cold bath. Like it's you have to you have to dip yourself into the hot bath and let it take care of you."
Beautiful, beautiful. I think you've touched on one of the parts of this conversation that is so nourishing, is that we get to go beyond our noise. We get to go beyond our clanking intellect that's questioning everything and analyzing everything. We get to touch a deeper space within ourselves. And when we touch that space, it's exactly what you just described. It's healing, it's nourishing. In that space, we find insights about life that have the capacity to change everything for us. We see things differently, and when we see things differently, the world changes. So that space that we share together is called, some people call it the insight space. And
Space within. Yeah.
there's no, there's no effort involved in it. It's such a natural part of who we are, beyond the noise of our mind. But when we find that space, it changes everything. It changes everything.
It does. This is the beginning of the conversation.
Exactly.
Exactly.
So, just to recap, our reality, our experience of life is created internally through the filter of our mind. When we see that, we begin to see that our view of the world is internally created, and that, when we see it, can be changed.
Yeah.
The other part of it is that we have an innate design built in for success, to be good, to be creative, to be compassionate, to be kind, to be joyful, to be inspired. That is already here. That's already here. So the more that we see, the deeper we see those two fundamental aspects of who we are, the more beautiful life becomes, the deeper and more meaningful our experience of life is, and the closer to our true potential we get.
Wonderful. I think that's a great place to put a pin on it. And we'll be back for the next parts of this beautiful conversation. Stay tuned.
Thanks, Nikon.
Thanks,
Bye.
Stef.